Chapter 7. A Storm is Brewing. During Princess Twilight's introducing Vel to Pinkie Pie at Sugar Cube Corner, King Sombra was watching everything from the shadows. His mind was mostly on his daughter and this stuff about two-time traveling groups that are often at each other's throats. He recalled her so-called cousin was helped by one of the group who are called the Time Ghosts, who help those who want to change their fate if it is not to their liking. Meanwhile, the time fixers wish for things to remain as it is, and if there are creatures in history who can ruin their plans, they'd be targeted like the Time Ghosts to be marked for death. So your name is Vel, huh? You kind of look familiar. Are you related to someone famous? Asked Pinkie Pie when they first showed up. Vel remembered the mention of the only other one of her species who was still alive as a villain, so she said, while trying to avoid raising some flags about her appearance, no, I just have that face. So what kind of a place is this? Oh, right. You're new in town, so you don't know. This is a bakery, said Princess Twilight, who was trying not to have to explain to Pinkie Pie that Vel was brought to Ponyville from a place 1,002,000 years before Equestria was even founded. They have all kinds of great treats here, cake of every kind, smoothies, milkshakes, and more. Milkshakes? Does that come in chocolate? Asked Vel, who was suddenly very curious. Oh, yeah, Pinkie will take 2, said Princess Twilight before turning to Spike. You mind to go and find Starlight and tell her to get the others to meet us back at the castle?
Sure thing, Twilight,
said Spike before hurrying out of Sugar Cube Corner. Pinkie Pie, I need to see you with the girls after work at the castle. Spike just went to tell the others, said Princess Twilight, and her pink friend nodded before she and Vel took her seats in a booth. Pinkie Pie's a friend of mine, and she and the Cakes both work here. Don't mind anything she says or does. This is just how she is, and most of the time what she does doesn't make sense. Okay, but what kind of pony is she? She has no wings or horns like you and Tempest, asked Vel, who was curious. Well, there are 3 main pony tribes. Unicorn, which is what Tempest's shadow is because of her horn, which is for the most is how we use magic. Then there's the Pegasus, who can fly, and then the Earth ponies, who are the most connected to the land, said Princess Twilight, who was always excited about explaining this. Pinkie Pie is an Earth pony. Most of my friends are of all 3 tribes. I used to be a unicorn, but now that I have wings, I'm an alicorn, which has the ability as well as some of the appearance of the 3 main tribes. The royalty part came because until recently, alicorns were very rare. So you can use magic and fly, but you also have the strength of Earth ponies, said Vel, while guessing this, and then smiled to herself for some reason. Twilight is being so nice. She and Tempest already saved my life, and yet I have nothing to give in return for their kindness. It's obvious also that despite her being royalty, she doesn't like formalities, as everyone in town knows and calls her by her first name. Here you go, said Pinkie Pie before bringing over their orders, and gave Vel a bendy straws. And enjoy. Vel looked to the glass the milkshake was in and thought as she pulled it over in her hands and took a sip. It's brown. Well, Vel's eyes went wide at the taste, and Princess Twilight said she was pretty sure she could hear her purring like a cat as her tail flung in the air behind her head as a sure sign she was enjoying this. I take you love it. I was surprised you knew about chocolate. Were there any cocoa beans where you grew up? Vel stopped and said, while taking her mouth off the straw, to raise eyebrows at her, Cocoa beans? It's the main ingredient in making chocolate, said Princess Twilight with a curious look. Oh, I think so, even though I never knew what chocolate is made from until now, But we did have some stores that made this stuff, and it's the one thing I really enjoyed where I lived," said Bill with a smile before raising an eyebrow. "I'm curious, is the fact that you weren't royalty until you became an alicorn the reason why your castle is so low class?" "Low class? What do you mean?" asked Princess Twilight, who was confused by the question. "I mean, you have no guards, and the only staff apparently is a fire-breathing lizard," said Vel, who was a little confused by that. "I worked in an emperor's pyramid-looking castle once, so I know a few things about royalty and how they live." "Well, okay, I guess you might have it right. I grew up in Canterlot, in the noble district, which is the capital of our country," said Princess Twilight, who got her curious. "My brother was on the royal guard, and I did have a babysitter who is now the ruler of the Crystal Empire, who is married to my brother, and now I'm an aunt to the first ever alicorn to be recorded ever born, thanks to them. But, yeah, I think I'm not really royalty." "Oh, why is that?" asked Val, as King Sombra listened into everything, even more from the shadows. "I just found out I'm adopted, and my birth dad might be a villain whom I've fought until now," said Princess Celestia, who got Val curious. "Look, I have a lot going on in my mind about it, but you have a chance at a good life, and I want to help in any way I can." "I understand," said Val, before they sent back to their treat.
What? What? How? Huh? What was that?"
thought King Sombra as he sensed something going off, and he looked toward the mountain Canterlot City is built on the side of.
Interesting. What could Princess Celestia be up to this time? That'll have to wait.
Princess Twilight and Vel went back to her castle when she said she could somehow now sense King Sombra is following them.
Could you go ahead without me? Oh, sorry.
"Could you go ahead without me? I need to check something. I'll meet you at the stairs. You don't have to decide now if you want to live with me, but for now, consider yourself my guest, so you can stay as long as you want, and you can decide later." Okay," said Val before heading on.